Welcome back to another Pirkei Avot text explication video with your host, me, Rabbi Drew. We are now on the fifth text in the fourth chapter of Pirkei Avot, and just as we had experienced, seen, read, heard in the previous text, it is two separate statements by two different rabbis. So here's the first of these two. Rabbi Ishmael, his son, says. Whose son? Presumably, it's the rabbi that we had previously encountered in the second part of the previous text, and that was Rabbi Yochanan, son of Broka. So presumably this is Rabbi Ishmael, son of Rabbi Yochanan, son of Broka. And he says, Halomed Torah almanat lelamed, one who learns Torah in order to teach that Torah, masbikin biyado lilmod ulalamed. It's sufficient for that person that they should study it and to teach it. So basically it goes, that this person wants to teach this Torah, so they learn enough in order just to teach it. However, he goes on to say, V'halomed almanat la'asot, one who learns or one who studies in order to do or otherwise to perform the Torah, because that is the context of what he is talking about, Torah. So he started out by saying, Halomed Torah almanat lelamed, one who studies Torah in order to teach it, right? Now v'halomed Torah almanat la'asot, so one who studying Torah to actually carry it out, not simply to teach, right? Meaning, the first part was more of an abstract, being able to teach it, but now this is really being able to carry out and perform the mitzvot and to do all these things. He says, Maspikim biyado lilmod ulalamed lishmor v'la'asot. So one who simply wants to study Torah in order to teach it, they can learn it and to teach it. But however, he says, but one who actually wants to carry it out, one who actually wants to do what the Torah instructs, they are able to not only to study it and to teach it, but also to guard and to do it. Now the guarding and the doing, it sounds like the guarding is more of the being careful not to carry out transgressions, and la'asot is to do the various mitzvot. So really fascinating breakdown. If you're just studying Torah just to study it, to teach it, great, that's good enough. But one who really wants to perform it, it's all of these things. And I think that's what really is going on is Rabbi Ishmael, son of Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka here, is saying, look, it's more of an embodied practice. And one has a lot more at stake, and one really wants to know how to do things and to be careful about them as well. So it's really fascinating. That's the first of the two statements. The second statement is by Rabbi Tzadok. And Rabbi Tzadok says, Al ta'aseh atara lihitkadel bahem v'lo hardum lachpor bahem. Some interesting words here. Do not make them a crown. Them presumably being a pronoun for Torah or words of Torah. So do not make study of Torah a crown for self-exaltation, nor a spade with which to dig. So basically, don't just use the words of Torah just to use them as a mere tool to get something else accomplished. That's his line. But then he seemingly quotes Hillel, and we have gotten some wisdom from Hillel previously in earlier chapters in Pirkei Avot, and here it's interesting because it's three words, and three words, by the way, in Aramaic. Ud ishtamesh betaga chalaf. That's it. That is how he quotes Hillel. Now we have seen Hillel. I'm pretty sure Hillel is the only person we have seen using Aramaic in Pirkei Avot. All the other sayings, phrases have been in Hebrew. Hillel uses Hebrew in a couple of previous statements. So this is actually not out of character, at least quoting him. And this Aramaic translates to, one that puts the crown to one's own use shall perish. Meaning, I think one's own use as opposed to somehow not just using the Torah as a means to an end for one's own personal gain, but using the Torah to at least think about God or be in a relationship with God or the glory of the Torah, but something beyond just simply oneself. And then he continues. It's seemingly, this is still Rabbi Tzadok having quoted Hillel and now gaining a message or having a takeaway from that quick little pithy statement of Hillel's. He says, Halamanata, you have learned. Kol hanehana midivrei Torah notel chayiv min ha'olam. Anybody or everybody. So he says, you have learned, or seemingly you have learned from Hillel's saying here, that everybody who benefits from the words of Torah, life removes, notel chayiv min ha'olam. One's life is removed from this world, or somehow their life is being taken away from them in this world. So, wow. It's interesting. I think for me, what's really fascinating about this final line here of Rabbi Tzadok's saying is hanehena. That for me is the key word. I think that we can really, determines a lot of how we understand this. What does it mean, nehena? Now, typically, nehena means deriving benefit, benefiting. For instance, there's a phrase, birchot hanehenin, which is blessings upon things that benefit us, even just simply over scents or fragrances. So these are nehenin, right? Things that we benefit from. I think what he means is, because clearly if one's life is being extracted from the world by benefiting from the words of Torah, I don't think he means Torah is not something from which we should benefit. I think what he means is that we are using the benefits of the words of Torah, the study of the Torah, for only our personal benefit and not for anything else. That seems for Rabbi Tzadok, at least the way I understand Rabbi Tzadok's words here, to be, one should not be using them as a mere tool for one's own gain or benefit in the world, as opposed to, what if it's not just for oneself, or what if it's for refining one's character or making someone a better person. So I don't think that that's what he's talking about. I think what Rabbi Tzadok here is talking about is specifically one's own benefit, and that is somehow problematic for him. So we have these two sayings here, and in the second statement is a third statement embedded from a very pithy statement from Hillel, but a statement nonetheless. So the first one is, when one studies Torah for oneself, or simply to study and to teach, that's good. But when one's seeking to gain an embodied practice from it, they get to not only to learn, to teach, but also to guard and to do. And then we have here Rabbi Tzadok in the second part of this text talking about not using Torah study as a tool to a better ends. Probably it's meant to be an end unto itself and not just for our own personal gain. So that's what we got here in the fifth text in the fourth chapter of Pirkei Avot. Once again, it's a double header, as it were, of sagely advice. So thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you around.